I came to this country 6 years ago and I did 3 years at Lipper, and probably about a month in, I got my first comment, "You'd be really good at burlesque." Now, that's such a great compliment. Looking back at it now, I'm like, yeah, you get me. But oh my God, I was so offended. I was so offended because bear in mind, I come from teeny tiny Norway. I didn't know what that meant. All I knew was you were saying, oh, so all I'm good for is pouting my lips and shaking my tits. And I didn't get it. Like, it really, like, it didn't infuriate me. I just could not appreciate what that meant. A couple of years go by, I start noticing that I had a knack for sensual movement more than anything else, and would, apply that to places where it just didn't belong. And then that made me go like, oh, I'm not good at anything. I can't do contemporary dance. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm never going to make it. And then I did a Vogue Ball where I entered in a category called Sex Siren. The whole theme was iconic. So, of course, the pale Norwegian with the red hair had to be Jessica Rabbit. And
absolutely.
I was reborn that night. I was just living my fantasy. I had a tearaway dress, was there in a little corset, just, feeling my oats on the runway. And something just, changed. Over the next year, I'm starting to go like, what is burlesque? And I started looking into it and I'm like, this is phenomenal. Like, what is this world? And I got really obsessed with it and kind of went like, maybe this is something I should try. Like, I was still going to be a swinging wicked, but how about we look into this?
So I just find that absolutely fascinating, because I think back to when we met you at your audition. Everything about you was just oozing sensuality and sexuality, and it was like you'd been doing this forever, and it was like you were made to do this, and you knew you were made to do this, and you were so confident. So to hear that when you first started out, that's not necessarily how you felt, or that you were almost offended to even be thought of as a burlesquer, it's so interesting.
Yeah, so there's this thing we say in, maybe not so much in Sweden, but it comes from Denmark. There's a town called Jante. So we call it the Law of Jante, which essentially, it boils down to, don't you fucking think you're better than anyone else. Don't ever think you're better than anyone else. Don't stick out. Don't go anywhere thinking that you are great because, at the end of the day, we don't want you to think that. Like, if everyone just thinks they're shit, that's how it should be. And I'm not going to lie, like, that's always been something that I've hated with a passion. It is very much a country of, you don't really want to stick out. That's not, that's never a good thing, which is the complete opposite of what feels natural to me. Then being confronted with someone telling you that you are indeed different, and, you are indeed something that might not be viewed as a good thing back home, then made me go, like, I became really shameful. And, like, that's why I got the reaction I did. I felt really shameful. Like, oh, you're saying I'd be good at something like that. Obviously, I should be ashamed of myself.
It's something that you're saying is still internalized, that even though you can believe it with all your heart, that you've got to this place now in your journey, there are still those moments where stuff happens to you that just that knocks you, and you're like, that shouldn't have any place still in my brain, but yet here it is. So it's a constant effort, isn't it, to keep that sense of self, and presumably dance is one way that you tap into that, Ida.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I'm, flying off on my own, it always needs to have some sort of feminist aspect to it. So, like, because that's the thing, like, it's so difficult, this whole thing about being a feminist. Well, essentially, some people will say, well, then you have to step away from femininity, but then it's like, oh God, like, no, that is not what it's about. But then at the same time, it's very easy, because so much of what we view as sexy and has been sexy, for as long as we can remember and looking back in history, it's always been about the focus of what does the man find sexy in a woman. And that is very difficult to kind of find the line where you're like, because like when you try to be sexy, you can, without even knowing it, be doing something that you literally are subconsciously just doing because you know that that's what a guy will find sexy. So for me, kind of every time figuring out a way to take that power, but it's not about you who's watching. It's not about you. It's not about what you want from me or what I can offer you. It's about what I have, what I love, what I enjoy, and allowing myself to share that. And therefore, like, not necessarily, because like it's beautiful when people are just, you know, gorgeous outfit, lots of glitter, it's all just very sexy, but it doesn't necessarily go anywhere. That's fine. I mean, I've done plenty of jobs where I've done that, but when it's my own material and I create it for myself, I'm like, there has to be some punchline, there has to be something that I'm trying to get across here.